Yeah, let's put this down, make sure the audio is okay. We're going to wait for a little bit, just let a few people join. Yeah, so how you doing, Vic? You alright?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Neil, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I've been photographing springtails in the garden. I think I
I
said...
finished this little guy here,
Oh, yes, look at him.
little Alfie,
Felty
the
frog.
frog, felty frog, and also finished the little ladybird.
A ladybird. It
It's a
is...
seven-spot
I'm going
ladybird
to say,
as
yeah,
well.
and
Ooh.
correct, apart from, obviously the general shape, but the patterning is correct, and the eyes.
And the googly eyes. But yeah, that was my kind of yesterday and today, so I finished those.
Oh,
I'm now working on an octopus.
excellent. We could mention, you've got Ladybird, that Helen Roy is going to be coming on the show in a month or two, I think it is. So that's going to be good.
Yeah.
She's like literally the person on Ladybirds, and head of president, whatever it is, of. Hold on. She Royal Entomological Society and Erica's amateur. I can't remember which way around it is. One of the big entomological. Royal. She's Royal and Erica's amateur. I remember now. There we go. I remembered. There's a few people joining. Hi everybody. Leave
Evening,
comments.
everyone.
Yeah, leave comments in the chat. We're talking reptile and amphibian books today, and there's a hair in front of my face. Oh. Please forgive the mop head. I ill-advisedly put off going to the barbers when they were open, and yes, it's fun. Keeps me warm, which would be useful if I actually went outside ever, which I haven't for a few days. Hope everyone else is well.
Well, I don't know about anyone else, but we've just had more rain here. So I just feel like we're the only place that hasn't had snow now in the country.
Oh no, North Essex had snow. In fact, I think some of Mid Essex had snow, but South Essex, where I had none.
Didn't get snow.
Just lots and lots of rain and drizzle.
We had more rain. Although, it did brighten up and the sun came out this afternoon.
Good. We're up to 9 playbacks, 9 following. So hello all 9 of you at the moment. We'll probably make a start in a second. I've cunningly, I think I've left my notes downstairs, but who cares? I know what I was going to say. Yeah. Right, we're up to 10. That seems like a good time to start. So hi everybody. If you've not come across before, I'm Neil Phillips. I'm sometimes known as Pond Man, and
I'm Victoria Hillman, also known as Vic, Frog Lady Vic. So yeah, we're a UK wildlife podcast.
Indeed.
And we thought we'd start doing a couple of lives to kind of show you a few bits and pieces.
Yeah, because the problem with the podcast medium is fantastic, except if you want to show people stuff. Right, so we're going to go through some reptile amphibian books. I'm going to make myself a bit bigger and Vic a bit smaller. There she is, Victoria, tiny in the corner. Now, the first book we're going to go through, I'm going to talk through a few different reptile amphibian books. I'm just going to make sure this focus is correct before we go any further. Here we go. So I need to hold about that high. Right, so we've got this book here. So I'm going to go through a few guides, and then I'm going to go through some other books, and Vic's got a bit more of a mix as well. So this is the first book I probably had on just reptiles and amphibians. As you see, it's all of Europe because we have so few reptiles and amphibians in this country. There aren't many. If you did a guidebook, we'd have to pad it out a little bit, and there is one actually like that, actually, to be fair, which is quite good. But this is quite a good book. It's got some quite good species accounts. It's nice and small. It's quite cheap. There's probably a bit of reflection there. There's the green toe page, fantastic animal. I think Vic will agree on that one. You've photographed green toads, haven't you?
Oh, I love green toads.
Nice. It's got the maps and it's got some good details, and it's nice and small. So if you're going abroad to Europe, it doesn't take up much weight or space, which is quite handy. It's not massively in depth, but if you just want something to ID things, it's got perfectly good pictures on every page to help you ID them. You might not colour every single colour form, and they sort of squeeze some similar species on the same page with just a little picture, but a lot of those are ideable by where they are. It's only got one of the sea turtles, but how often it's got the loggerhead in it and none of the others, but that's the only one you're likely to see unless you go looking for them. Just to mix it up a bit, I'm going to show you this one, The Complete British Animals. That's not a reptile book, you say, but you can quite often find it in the discount bookstores for a £5. It's obviously got things like hedgehogs and stuff in there as well, but it does have a pretty good section on reptiles and amphibians. So you've got our common lizard here, and you can see some good pictures in there. If my fingers out of the way, quite a lot of information. It's fairly up to date. I forget the year it came out. It's one of these classic Paul Sterry books. 2005. So like all these books we're going to show today, I don't know if any Vics have it. None of them have got Natrix Helvetica. So you might think, oh, grass snake, Natrix, and I still go to say Natrix. But the grass snake across Europe was split into 2 species. So the British one is now Natrix Helvetica. Although I think there's a few Natrix around when people have introduced them from Europe. But it, for a book on general animals, it's pretty good. Look, it's even got the eggs and the tadpoles of the newts there, and underwater pictures. So this is my go-to book for a while, and considering it's not a specialised book on amphibians, I'm quite impressed that they had all the non-natives and very limited ones. So like the agile frog, which is only found on Canary Islands, I wish, Channel Islands, and it's got the tree frog, which is probably extinct in the UK now, and the aquatic species and stuff. So yeah, it's quite a good book, that one. So if you see that in a discount bookshop, pick it up. It's well worth getting. But probably the book of choice, and I think you've got this one as well, haven't you, Victoria?
Yeah.
Yeah, is the British Wildlife Field Guides. Field Guide to Amphibians and Reptiles of Britain and Europe. This is absolutely cracking. It's got, especially if you go to Europe, this is well worth getting. It's got where to find them in Europe, so it's got a whole load of stuff. And it's at the start, it's got a load of keys. So you've got the tadpoles of all the frogs and toads there. Look at that, lovely stuff. I like the old drawings like that. And it's like a tabular key for you to work these things out. It's got the spawn as well. But what I love is how good the diagrams are. So that it's got all the forms of fire salamander there, all different colour themes and subspecies, I think they're calling them now. Depends who you ask. Here we go. Look. How's that for wall lizards? I love a wall lizard. It's brilliant diagrams. I don't know who does the art on this one. Got Ilium Vic. Oh, isn't it? Yeah, see that one that isn't illustrated by that certain illustrator that I own. Here we go. I'm just clicking through, and there you go. And there's a slow M. So that's a good general idea. So they lumped all the slow M's on the same page, so you can see, because they're just sort of variation on a theme. Got the map showing you where all the different forms are found, and yeah, just some really nice drawings. And I find it a very good book. Some lots of good information in them. But moving on, you might think, but Neil, I want to learn a bit more about amphibians. I want to know how to identify them. Well, if you're starting out, this is not a bad place to start. Trevor Beebe is a bit of a legend in herpetological circles, and this is, it's sort of written, big text for younger readers maybe, but also enthusiastic adults as well. It's got some lovely diagrams. So that's how a frog jumps. Talks about the Irish question. There you go, little chapter about why there's no snakes in Ireland and so few. It's got some lovely diagrams and stuff in drawings. And so that's chapters on things like breeding and conservation. There's another topic there. It's just a lovely little book that wouldn't take you too long to read, and it's pretty much entirely on British frogs and toads and stuff. So yeah, that's well worth picking up. And what's the RRP on this one? I can't remember, but I think I'll pick this up for about a tenner somewhere. You can get them cheaper if you look around. Now, of course, like most groups, they have a new naturalist. Now, for those not familiar with the new naturalist series, these are sort of the tomes on different groups. So you've got one on dragonflies. There's one on the Lake District. There's one on all things like that. And some of the original editions are worth a stupid amount of money thanks to book collectors, which is annoying because those that actually want to read them can't afford them. But this is well, I'll give you an example of how in depth and how great it is. Here we go. So there's a section on lizards with an in-depth diagram of how lizards courtship goes and all sorts. It's got really in depth on each species. Have you got this one, Vic?
I don't have that one actually. No.
Nah, it's worth
really cool
getting.
book.
I have no idea where I got this one from. Can't remember if someone gave it to me or not. That's newt courtship. I mean, how I love diagrams like that. There you go. Creep, touch towel, quiver. All the stages.
That's brilliant.
There you go. There's a diagram on the changes in the different arteries in amphibians and reptiles. You know, it goes really in depth if you want to. Mean dates of spawning on that table. It's just cracking stuff, really. I'm just going to go and read it now while you all watch. But one thing I will say though, it was published in '85, was it? Mid-80s, about as old as me, I think. So some of the scientific names are out of date, but most of them are quite easy, like the Great Crested Newt. That's not changed. Sorry, Smooth Newt is now Lissotriton Rhylon Tritrus, whatever it is. But yeah, dead easy. Now, talking of old books, when this was published, we hadn't landed on the moon. Well, 69 it was published. This, I don't know where I got picked this up from, but yeah, really in depth. Obviously, some of it's dated. The names are dated, but this goes really in depth. It's basically newts and salamanders. This one, and again another pick up in the charity shop or look online for. I have no idea how much it's worth. I think I'll pick this one up cheap somewhere in a charity shop. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice little book. It's one to grab if you find it in a charity shop. Basically, just goes in depth on the various species. Whether or not it's worth getting, it does talk about the European species rather than just the British species in the New Naturalist. So if you're going to go into Europe, that might be worth a look at. Have you seen this one before, Vic?
I haven't seen that one either. No.
I think that might be one Steve Allan pointing me towards. I can't remember now. It was a few years ago. But that's my 6 books. Vic's going to explain some more. But have we had? Oh, we've got a question here. Sorry. Right, I'll go through all the books, Michael, because I don't know which book you were talking about. So we have The Tailed Amphibians of Europe by J.W. Stewart. This will all be available afterwards, so you can go back and rewind and pause. There's The New Naturalist, Reptile and Amphibians in Britain by Derek Fraser. Frogs and Toads by Trevor Beebe. Field Guide to Amphibian Reptiles of Britain and Europe, which is the last book I bought at Bird Fair, which is slightly depressing. Didn't get to buy Laney this year. And Complete British Animals by Paul Sterry that's good, just worth looking out for. I think you can sometimes pick up online cheap as well. And the first one I said was New Holland's European Reptile Amphibian Guide, and that's by Axel Quent. Sorry, not Quint. And there we go. So that's my books. Vic's going to go through some now. I'm just going to shrink myself down.
Okay. Well, you let me know when you're ready, Neil, and I'll
go for it.
Right, so I've got a few different ones. The only one that I've actually got the same as Neil is the Amphibian and Reptiles of Britain and Europe. But I've got actually some different ones, and not all of mine are guides. So I'm going to start with this one, which is Snakes by Jules Howard. Really, really good book, actually. It's one of the RSPB Spotlight books. I don't know if you've seen that one, Neil.
Yeah, and Jules Howard's a good author. He usually researches very well.
It was actually published last year, so
right.
it's a new one. It's 2020. Really, really good. It touches on all aspects of snakes, like venom, conservation, history, bit of folklore in there as well. But it also talks about all our native species. Really, really good book if you just want to start getting into learning a little bit more about snakes. Definitely recommend that one. And it's only small. Took me 2 days to read it, and I mean, I don't read that slowly. I was picking it up and putting it down while I was doing some other stuff. So that's that one. Going to move on to a few other bits now. So a bit further afield. This was published in 2019. So it's only just over a year old. And it's the Amphibians of Europe. And it is updated. it's got all 139 amphibian species of Europe with maps and that. So if I pick out, let me grab this one because we all know this is my favourite frog. It's the European tree frog, and it actually gives you like maps, descriptions, but not only the European tree frog, it then gives you all the other ones that you can find in Europe and where you would find them and the differences in the calls. It's got introduced species, and at the back, if I just flick through, it's got some of, I know they're in here somewhere, again, the different variations of the fire salamander and where you'd find them, and it's a really easy key to use because it's all colour coordinated. So that's a really good one, and it's small. I actually take this away with me when I go to Europe because it is small, and when I went to Bulgaria a couple of years ago, I actually showed this to the herpetologist that we had with us, and he was really impressed with it. He really liked it. So that's a really good one. That's a Bloomsbury one. Now we're going to go a bit further afield, and I know Neil won't have these two. Amphibians and Reptiles of New Zealand. It's quite a big book. And you probably wouldn't have thought New Zealand had that many, but there's 123 species of amphibian and reptile in New Zealand.
Jammy Watsits.
Most of that is actually reptiles. They only have a handful of amphibians, I will say that. But it covers the marine species. You've got geckos in here, so we can find a gecko. Right, there we go. It's got the geckos in there as well.
Lovely.
Which is really cool. I mean, that's one thing we don't have in this country is the geckos. That's actually a new one as well. I think that's probably 2019, I think. Can't remember when I was sent this one. There is a review of this one on my website if you want to learn kind of more and have a bit more of a deeper read about it. But it is written by ecologists and consultant herpetologists. Really good book. When I actually started going through this to do the review on it, it basically made me want to jump on a plane to New Zealand with my camera and just go and hunt them all down. I will be doing that one day with this book. It is a really, really good book. I picked this one up, just over a year ago, back in 2019, and it's the reptiles of Southern Africa. As you could probably imagine, it is a beast of a book. That's another really big one. And this one's actually really good. It's got a lot, kind of each species. It covers biology, reproduction. There's stuff in here about where you can find them. It's got a good section on venom and snake bites, which obviously big issue in Southern Africa. But you can see, put it back a little bit there. You can see all the drawings in there as well.
That's some nice diagrams.
This is a stunning book. Absolutely, I'm actually reading this cover to cover, which I wouldn't normally do with a guide. But it's got stuff like the diversity of reptiles. It's got a section on conservation, and this one, I think it's a relatively new one as well. So I picked it up back in 2019 in South Africa. It was published in 2007.
Yeah.
There we go. So, but a lot of work went into that, and that is an absolutely beautiful guide. Or if you actually want to know just more about them, it's much more than a guide. I said it gives you so much information about venom types, what they can be used for, the different parts of it. So that's a really good one. Now on to a couple of beasts of books. The Book of Frogs.
Ooh.
That is a big book. I think you've seen this one, haven't you, Neil?
Yeah, I think I've had a quick flick through one in the shop and resisted the urge, but I may have to succumb at some point.
I love this book. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's got amazing pictures in it, along with kind of distribution maps, names, similar species.
Cool.
But it's worldwide, this one. So you've got some of the really cool kind of frogs from the tropics and that as well. So this has a bit of everything in it. That is a life-size guide to 600 species from around the world.
Yeah, it's that life-size series, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it has. So if I open up down the bottom, or like on the page, here we go.
Yeah.
It actually says actual size. So
Nice.
you know the kind of size you're looking for if you're out in the field. So that's, and obviously there's an accompaniment to this book, the Book of Frogs.
Yeah. This is the one I've seen.
The Book of Snakes. Same thing, and this one's actually by Mark O'Shea. The other one's by Tim Halliday. But again, in here, you've got actual size down the bottom to give you an idea. Distribution maps, loads of cool species, and they're from around the world as well. Again, so it gives you a really kind of cool look into the diversity of snakes around the world. So that's
on an aside. I think we might have to get Mark O'Shea on the show at some point.
Definitely.
Missed a chance to meet him.
And then I thought I'd actually share a couple of books that are a little bit different. Now, I don't know if anyone's actually seen these ones before. There's a whole series of them. I only have 2 in the series. They do them on so many different animals. Most animals are actually covered. But it covers folklore, like a bit of history, where they fit into history, and a bit of everything, really. It's a really good read. I mean, you've got like a section that says warts and all. I really enjoy them. They're good books to read, cover to cover. So it's not a guide, it's not a science book. It's a really kind of, you've got pictures of them from like artwork in history and that. So that's a natural history book. And then an accompaniment is the snakes one, which is exactly the same. It kind of covers why we fear snakes, but also why some people worship them. It's kind of everything in there. And again, it's, for me, that's a cover to cover read book rather than a kind of dip in and out of. But it does talk about stuff like snake skins. I think it does cover a bit of illegal trade, stuff like that as well. So they're 2 really, really good books if you want to just have some natural history reading books. And for anyone that wants to go deeper, I'm just going to grab another one off my bookshelf. Now this is taking it to the next level, and I know Neil won't have this one.
Yikes! Yeah, I ain't got that yet.
It's a book on herpetology. This is actually one of my university textbooks, but it covers absolutely everything. You've got stuff like the chameleons, and you can see where I've used it for making notes. But mating systems. Really, really good book, this one. Species assemblages. But that is a proper textbook. That's a university textbook. But, that's, if you want to get more into herpetology, or maybe you want to study herpetology, this is a really good book. I still refer to this book now when I'm writing articles and that. It's a good kind of textbook. There's probably updated versions of this now, but there's actually another book that I have, but I can't show you because I only have the Kindle edition, and it's called The Biology and Conservation of Snakes. And I have the Kindle version of it, but the actual textbook was something like £150, which I couldn't afford. But that's another one. So there we go, and that's kind of all of my amphibian and reptile books.
Yeah. I hope that was of interest to people. We might do a few more of these. I've got stacks of pond books, and I'll probably pick a few of those at some point in the future. But you're not going to be joining us for Thursdays, are you, Vic?
No, I definitely won't be here next week, for sure, because I have to be somewhere else. I might be joining Thursdays. I'll probably join on the chat,
Yeah.
but not in person. But definitely not next week. No, I won't be here.
And Thursdays we are currently planning, unless something goes wrong. I'll be back down in my pond man shed, but we won't be looking at pond creatures. We'll be looking at some invertebrates from some woodland. Hopefully I should be visiting on Wednesday. If not, I might have to change it to garden invertebrates, but they'll be quite similar anyway. And again, I'll be using the macro setup, and we can get a close look. I'll tell you some cool stuff about them, because contrary to popular belief, I do know about a bit about land animals as well as pond creatures. So yeah, we'll get up close and personal with some woodlice and some other creatures, hopefully. So well, we'll keep it there rather than waffle on for ages. We'll finish there, but I hope you enjoyed that, guys. And yeah, if you've got a topic of book you want us to cover, let us know, and we'll see what we can do. All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure between us we could probably cover it.
Yeah, we've got plenty of books, both of us. Some natural history.
I have an entire bookcase, actually 2 bookcases.
Yeah.
But I actually have some interesting kind of natural history and nature writing books as well. So maybe that's something you can cover that's not guides, but something a little bit different as well.
Yeah, I've actually read a few of those now, so I probably could contribute to that. Right, okay then, guys. Well, good to see you all. Thanks for joining us, and yeah, look out for the new episode dropping next week. And we'll
take care.
See ya.